Hey everyone, welcome back to another review. Today we're taking a look at a figure I've been looking forward to for a very long time now. It's the Past Protoceratops. For those of you that have not heard of Past, there is a very good reason for that. They are a brand spanking new company, and this little Protoceratops right here is the very first figure from them. Past is based out of Germany. Right now it's pretty much a one-man show, and the creator of this line also has a website called the Dino Toy Collector. It's a website that has pretty much every dinosaur toy and figurine you can imagine on it. It's a great website if you want to keep track of what you have in your collection and keep track of what you'd like to add to your collection. I actually use the website quite often. It's a really handy tool. And I'll also leave a link in the description to the Dino Toy Collector website if you'd like to check that out. So getting back to this little figure here, when I heard that there was a 135 scale Protoceratops figure being produced by a company, I was very interested. Protoceratops is a very well-known dinosaur, but we don't have a lot of toys of Protoceratops, and I was so happy that we were getting one in this 135 scale. So before we take a closer look at this figure, let's take a quick look at the box that this figure comes in. It's a very well thought out box. So on the front of the box right here, you have a little artwork of the Protoceratops. It's listed in 135 scale, and you have the scientific name andrewsi on here, which you don't really see the scientific name being used on a lot of figures. The only other company I could think of at the time that used the scientific names was Batat. On the top of the box right here, you have a picture of the Protoceratops next to a human to show you how they scale next to each other. And right here, you have some information about Protoceratops that was found in Mongolia. It lived 84 to 72 million years ago, and you have some classification information right here. It's a very well thought out package. It's really nice that we get this information on the box. And on the other side right here, we have an actual photo of the figure. It says it's 1/1 scale. The figure is not 1/1 scale, it just means this picture is 1/1 scale with the actual toy itself. And that's pretty much it for the box right here. Here's the QR code if you would like to follow their Instagram, which I highly recommend you do. And that's pretty much it for the box. So let's get this figure in the frame and take a closer look at it. All right, here's a little bit more of a close-up of this little Protoceratops, and I do mean little. Here is a quarter for some size reference. This is a very tiny figure, and since we're talking about size, let's just do a couple quick measurements. This figure is pretty much 2.5 inches right on the dot from the tip of the beak to the tip of the tail, and just a hair under 1 inch tall to the top of the frill right here. So Protoceratops was roughly about 6 feet long. So with those measurements, that put this figure somewhere in the 130 scale range, not the 135 scale range, but still, this figure is very small and will look great with other 135 scale figures. Now, this little figure does come with one accessory. It actually comes with its nest, and it's a very well sculpted nest. I'm glad it came with this little accessory. It reminds me of the old Carnegie collection Protoceratops that came with its nest. A lot of nice details along it. You can see a lot of ridges on this nest, which looks like it was dug in sand. You get some nice shading in the middle of the nest right here. And the coolest part is, those aren't eggs in the middle of the nest right here. Those are actually baby Protoceratops. They're very hard to make out. They are incredibly tiny, but you can just see the shape right here. You can see the head, the body, and the tail on all these little babies in here. And I think that is such a cool little touch. You would not notice that unless you look at really, really close to see that these are actually babies and not eggs. And the eggs are part of the reason why Protoceratops is so popular. In the 1920s, Roy Chapman Andrews set out on an expedition to Mongolia where they discovered the first dinosaur eggs, and those eggs were presumed to belong to Protoceratops, but it was later discovered that those eggs actually belonged to Oviraptor. It wasn't until 2011 that the first Protoceratops nest was discovered. Moving on to the sculpt of this figure, this Protoceratops is sculpted in a standard walking pose. It's nothing fancy, but you can position this Protoceratops over its nest like it's checking on its babies, and that's really all this pose needs to be. It's nice and simple, and I like it. Moving on to the coloration, the main body is a dark brown coloration. You have this lighter cream color along the tail and sides of the legs right here, and turn the figure over, you can see more of that cream coloration. There are black stripes that run along the tail right here, and some black dots along the body. You also have a black stripe that goes all the way down the back of this animal. And then looking at the head right here, You can see the fenestras, the opening on the frill, are outlined in that cream coloration with that dark brown in the middle, and the whole outline of the frill and midline of the skull are all done in black. The eye is just a black dot, which works. This is a very small figure. I have no idea how they will be able to paint an actual pupil on this figure, and then the horns on the side of the cheeks are painted in black. Even the claws on the feet are painted, and this is a very, very well done figure. And for being very small, it does have some fine details on it. You can see along the fur right here, a lot of nice scale detail. You got some knobs and bumps along the fur right here, and even along right this part of the skull right here and the midline. It's very hard to pick it up, especially on this camera, because it's so tough to zoom in. It's such a small figure, but I am appreciating all the very tiny little details on it. Even along the body right here, you can see a lot of bumps on here. You know, you got those black dots on here. They all don't line up with the bumps, but I think if all those bumps were painted in with the black paint, they really wouldn't show up as much. So I'm glad some of them are left unpainted, so you can appreciate some of that detail. And even the feet are just really, really well done. Let me just get my light to focus in on that. You can see the toe claws are painted in really, really nice. And all in all, this is a great little figure. Now, you have the typical quills that you've seen on a lot of ceratopsian figures. There is no evidence that Protoceratops or any ceratopsian besides that one specimen of Psittacosaurus actually had these quills. These are just purely speculative at the moment, but I do like them on this figure right here. It doesn't look really nice. It just really adds to the overall profile of this figure. But you know, for a first-time figure, I am very, very happy with this. I've always wanted a small Protoceratops figure for my collection, and Wild Past definitely delivered. All right, let's move on with some comparisons. Oh, I actually have a life-size juvenile Protoceratops skull that I've had, you know, behind this little figure the whole time during this review, but here is a good look at it. This is a really cool skull. This is one of my favorite skulls in my collection besides my Deinonychus. So first up is the Mattel Jurassic World Protoceratops, and right here is the Rosaurus Carnage Collection Protoceratops, which is, you know, actually quite a very rare figure. And let me just get these two out of here. And here is the Kyoto Protoceratops, and I specifically bought this Kyoto Protoceratops because I knew I was eventually getting this Wild Past one. I want to build a nice diorama. I'm gonna use this Kyoto one right here as the male. Like he's watching over his female, taking care of the young. I'll eventually start working on that. When I get that done, I will show the completed diorama off on the channel. But I think these two figures look really, really nice together. You obviously use the Wild Past one as a female and this Kyoto one here as the male. 2020 is starting to look like the year of Protoceratops. We're getting 3 Protoceratops figures this year. Wild Past just kicked it off with theirs. We're getting a 1/6 scale Protoceratops from Collectate very soon. Everything Dinosaur just showed that figure off recently, and it looks really cool. It looks like a nice size figure. And of course, we're getting the 1/6 scale Protoceratops from the Beast of the Mesozoic line, which looks absolutely amazing. So yeah, this is a great year to be a fan of Protoceratops. And just a couple more comparisons right here. Here is the Safari LTD Psittacosaurus. And of course, you can't have a Protoceratops comparison without Velociraptor. And here is the Safari LTD feathered Velociraptor. And hopefully sometime in the future, Wild Past makes a 1/35 scale Velociraptor, the scale with this Protoceratops right there. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. So final thoughts on this figure. I really like this little Protoceratops. I know it's a very small figure. You know, it's not the most detailed figure, but for a first-time figure from a company that is being run by one person, this is a great first try. I really love this. I am not disappointed with it. I love the little nest accessory it comes with. Especially love that those aren't eggs, that those are actually baby Protoceratops if you really, really look at it very closely. So yeah, I am very, very happy with this figure. Now, the only problem I have with this figure is it's not really a problem. Since this is a first-time figure from a first-time company, it's very expensive to get, you know, off the ground producing figures and getting established, you know, making these products. So for the size of this figure, the price is a little bit expensive. I ended up ordering mine from Dan's Dinosaur. With shipping, it came to about $22. And yes, that is kind of expensive for such a small figure. But like I said, you have to keep in mind, this is a first time figure. It takes a lot of money to develop a figure for the market. So I do highly recommend that you support these small companies that try to do something different. You know, having choices is great in this hobby, and I am more than happy to pay this higher price for a small figure with the other stuff that this company has planned. They have a 135 scale Majungasaurus coming out, and they have a pair of those dwarf hadrosaurs, which I cannot remember the name at the moment. I just know they're from Italy and they're tiny, and I'm probably gonna name those two hadrosaurs Mario and Luigi when those come out. So yeah, they have a couple cool figures, you know, in the works right here, and the only way those are gonna get produced is if this Protoceratops gets supported. And like I said, I ordered this figure from Dan's Dinosaur. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to order it from Dan's. He got a small quantity in. Everything Dinosaur is supposed to be getting these too. They haven't gotten them in yet, but they should have them in very shortly. You can email Everything Dinosaur and get on their reserve list. Of course, I'll leave the link to Everything Dinosaur in the description. And also, I'll leave the links to Wild Past Facebook page and Instagram. You can get in touch with them. I think they have a few figures on hand themselves. So right now there's a few different ways to get this Protoceratops. Now I heard there was not going to be a large run on this figure, so definitely don't wait. Go out there and get this little figure and definitely support this small company. I'm really excited for what they have planned in the future. I would love to see a fully scaled 135 scale line. It's just something that's been kind of lacking lately. Safari is kind of all over the place with their dinosaur figures. Their figures are great, but they're not all sculpted being scaled with each other. Same thing with Collectae. So it'd be really nice if we kind of get that old Carnegie collection vibe where all the figures for the most part are scaled with each other. So definitely support this company. So that will pretty much do it for the review. As always, if you're liking the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.